The first thing you will do is uncrate your dishwasher, set it in place. You will level the machine using the 4 leveling feet that are provided with the machine on the bottom. Level it from side to side and back to back. We provide a 6-foot hose that will be coiled up on the back of the machine when you receive it. It has a 3/4-inch garden hose fitting to make your hot water connection. Remember, when you're making this connection, use no smaller than a 1/2-inch supply line. That supply line must supply at least 20 psi of flow pressure. The machine will be provided with a drain hose. It will be looped from the back of the machine by 1 hold straps. Do not remove the loops from the straps, as it will impede the machine's ability to drain. You will untie the drain, and you will attach one end into a Y fitting that will be provided by the customer. We will provide the 3/4-inch slip fitting that will connect to the Y fitting, and your drain hose will attach to that. If you heat the hose up, it makes it easier to attach to the hose barb. The drain must be vented. Also, make note when you are installing the drain line, it has a maximum of 3 feet from the ground. A good reference is, do not run the drain line higher than the level of the machine. This is for reference. Your detergent connections come wrapped on the back of the machine along with all the other fittings. You'll cut these loose, and these will run over to your containers. You'll drop these into the appropriate container. They are labeled. Again, you will want to mount these on the floor. Your detergent bottles and rinse aid bottles need to be on the floor. You can't have them sitting up on a shelf, as it will not feed into the machine. First thing you do is remove the front panel from the machine so you can access the main terminal block for the electrical controls. There are 2 screws that hold the panel on. You remove those screws. On the models UH170B and UH200B, when you remove the front panel for your initial startup, please notice that you have a pressure tube. That's running from the final rinse and registers the pressure gauge on the outside of the machine. Make sure you don't pull this off by accident, because water will go everywhere. On the models UH170B and the models UH200B, we provide a freshwater rinse valve with the machine. These machines are freshwater rinse, so it is strictly based off the pressure from the water to turn the rinse arms inside the machine. Each machine comes with a PRV loose inside the machine and must be installed at the time of installation. If not, you will not be able to regulate how much pressure the final rinse has. So be sure to install the PRV that is sent with the machine in line with your plumbing to the machine. This is the pressure reducing valve. This must be installed on all freshwater rinse machines. The models UH170 and UH200 as well. This controls the final rinse pressure, which must be between 18 and 22 psi. It comes with the machine loose. Mount it in line with the plumbing to the machine. During the final rinse phase of the machine, the gauge should read 18 to 22 psi. If you have too high pressure, it can be adjusted via the PRV that is mounted in line with your plumbing. This machine doesn't require a PRV to regulate the machine. It's water supplied. This valve comes with a built-in flow protector from 25 to 75 psi. We recommend that you have no less than 40 psi coming to the machine, which is standard street pressure in most parts of the country. Here you see the inside of the machine, and on the lower right-hand corner, underneath the machine, is where the main terminal block is located. This is the hole for the power supply that runs through the hole to the front of the machine and connecting to the main terminal block. The electrical box is located in the lower right-hand corner. This is your main terminal block where you'll make your primary connections. Remove the box cover. Once you have the terminal block exposed, look at the data plate on the front panel. It will tell you the voltage of the machine and the phase. This particular machine is 208-volt single phase. That's the latest unit we'll be wiring. To wire this machine, you will need 2 hots, a neutral, and a ground wire to make a total of 4 wires. You will have to provide the neutral for this machine, as the machine does not provide its own neutral. You'll receive a single phase unless you've otherwise ordered it 3-phase. You can still convert it to 3-phase through a few simple steps. First, remove the front panel. For the three-phase conversion, as you're following the instructions, we have the wire for the third phase already in the machine wired up. All you have to do is remove it from here and restrap the heater to make it three-phase. We provide the wire, all you have to do is hook it up. On the inside of the panel, you'll find the instructions glued to the inside, and you will also find a new data plate reflecting that the machine is now three-phase. This data plate must be reused, otherwise you will fail the NSFRUL inspection if the inspector comes in. Once all your connections have been made, you can now energize the power for the machine. When you turn the power on, the first thing you want to do is make sure your water is flowing. To test this, you will go down to the rinse fill switch, which is located in the center of the lower portion of the machine right above your detergent pumps. The switch is labeled on, off, and fill. So the first thing you do is fill the machine with the fill switch. It's a momentary switch, so when you push it over, it will come back on its own. You press the booster fill switch into the fill position. Hold the fill switch down until you see water coming inside of the cabin of the machine. You'll see it coming out of the right-hand side through the fill chute. That way you know it's ready for operation. Flip it into the on position. Once you do that, the machine is in automatic mode from that point on. That is going to stay in the on position for the remainder of the time. That was just a first-time fill for initial use and startup of the machine. The reason we do this is we do not ship the machines with water inside the booster tank. We don't know where they're going to be shipping, so if it ships somewhere where it's below freezing, the water will be frozen inside the tank and will destroy the element. This machine comes equipped with a high limit for the booster in the case that the thermostat goes bad, or on the initial fill you forget to fill the machine and fill the booster up when you turn the machine on. It will dry fire the booster and trip the high limit as a form of protection. To reset this, push the button on top of the booster. At that time, it will reset. Not uncommon, if the kitchen staff accidentally leaves the machine on overnight with water in the tank, what will happen is all of the water will eventually condensate out of the tank, and as a protection, the machine will trip its high limit. Please turn the machine off at night and leave the door open to let the interior air dry. To find it, locate the contactor mounted on the center plate to the right. Press the button and reset the wash tank high limit. This would happen if you notice your wash tank temperatures not coming up to 150 or above. This will be the first thing you check. For the service portion of the machine, if you notice that you have a low temperature in either your wash or your final rinse, the adjustments for the thermostats for each of these are located here. They're labeled with arrows pointing to them. The potentiometer is through the plate and their thermostats are located on the back side. Clockwise to increase, counterclockwise to decrease. For the initial startup of the machine, where you're getting ready to start using your machine for the first time, you'll turn the power switch into the on position. When you turn the power switch into the on position, the machine will automatically begin to fill with water. Once the machine is full of water, it will cut off and your main electrical heating supply will turn on. It will turn on for your maintenance heater in the tank heat, and it'll also turn on your booster tank heat, which provides 180 degrees for sanitizing your final rinse. Now, once we see that it's filled, you'll want to assure that it's filled to the proper level. And as you see, the water is halfway between the center of the wash cabin and the lip where it breaks, and starts sloping down from the edge of the machine on the left side. Once you see you have the proper level of water, then you're ready to start using the machine. First thing you want to do is ensure your pickup tubes and your detergent and rinse aids are inside their containers. To prime those pumps, you'll use our detergent and rinse aid prime switch. To prime the detergent pump, it's labeled detergent. You'll just push and hold. It's a momentary switch. As you can see, the detergent pump starts spinning. You'll want to hold this down until you see the detergent entering the cavity from the right-hand side. For the rinse aid, it'll be the same as detergent. You'll want to push downward toward the rinse prime and hold it. Same with the detergent. You'll want to hold it down until you see it coming into the right-hand side of the cavity of the machine, then release. On our initial fill of the machine, we're going to have to wait until the temperature reaches 150. Typically, it will take about 10 minutes for this to reach 150 degrees before you can start using the dishwasher. However, on the first use, first thing in the morning, the booster will be cold with water. Also, the water that's in the line will be cold. So you'll have 70 to 80 degree water sitting in line that will take much longer to heat up than 10 minutes. To accelerate that process, you can simply run a cycle. The booster will heat up the water that's inside of the tank. You may have to do this twice, and then you'll be ready. Then you won't have to wait longer than 10 minutes for your tank heat to reach 150 degrees. Once your machine's up to temperature, to 150 degrees, go ahead and pre-rinse your dishes, or whatever you're going to put into the machine to wash. Place them in the rack, slide it into the machine, close the door, and press the start button. At this time, the green cycle light will come on, and it'll run a cycle. For this particular machine, we consider it a fill and dump type machine. The wash cycle will run, the machine will stop, it will drain all the water from the machine, fill the machine back up with fresh water, and will go into a final rinse portion of the cycle. So if you hear the machine cut off midway through, that is normal. The fill valve comes on and you're in the final rinse. It's letting you know that 180 degree water will be putting into the machine from the booster. All models come with a Rinse Century booster. In a nutshell, what a Rinse Century booster is, it will prevent the machine from going into a final rinse prematurely before the temperature reaches 180 degrees. That way you always know that you'll have 180 degrees over the dishes for the final rinse. In the process, this may extend the wash cycle, so if you have a longer wash cycle, then the Rinse Century is active. Now the machine stops, the light goes out. Open the door, remove the clean ware. This is the model UH200B. It is a freshwater rinse machine. We also have the UH170B, which is a freshwater rinse machine. It's just like the UH200B, except it has analog gauges instead of digital readouts. It has the push buttons instead of stainless steel. That's the differences between the UH170B and the UH200B. The startup operation is the same for all models, UH100B, 170, and UH200. However, this is a freshwater machine. It will have an additional set of arms for your final rinse. So as you had wash arms in the 100 series, you now have an additional set for your freshwaters. To start up the machine, turn the power on. The machine will go through an automatic fill. The digital readouts for your wash and rinse will read low until they come up to temperature. The proper wash temperature for the UH170 and UH200, as with the others, are 150 minimum. Again, to speed up this process, after a cold start in the morning, first run a cycle to accelerate the process. Notice that you have a readout of low on the temp gauge of the digital readout. This will read that until you reach 150 degrees. It lets you know that you're out of range, so you're not ready to wash dishes. This unit on the UH200B only comes with stainless steel pressure switch buttons. All you have to do is place your finger on them and you'll see the cycle light come on. Proper wash tank temp for the UH200B and 170B and 100B is 150 degrees, as you can see here. At this time, you can begin a cycle. Press the start button. The green cycle light will come on. Notice that the rinse temp is showing at 148. The rinse temp only registers during the final rinse portion of the cycle, so you won't see 180 until that portion. If you have a heavy load of soiled dishes, we also offer the extended wash feature. At any time during the cycle, you can press this button and the extended wash will override the standard cycle and run for 15 minutes, unless you press it again and it will go back into a normal cycle. Your machine still needs to be cleaned every 2 hours or after every meal period, or by looking into the tank and judging whether or not the water is dirty. The fresh water rinse does skim at the overflow to take out some of the soil. However, the water still will be contaminated and will need to be cleaned periodically, and at a minimum after every meal period. To begin the process of cleaning, first power the machine down and drain it. At this time, the drain valve will open and the pump will turn back on and drain the machine. After draining, open the door. First thing, remove the rinse arm and the wash arm. To do that, turn the ferrule nut counterclockwise. On the rinse arm, take it over to the sink. Make sure you spray out the rinse arm, and if you have to, take a paper clip and make sure all these nozzles are clear and open. Next, remove the wash arm. Take it to the sink. Ensure all the nozzles are clear of any debris and clean. Also remove the lower scrap screen. Take it to the sink, spray it out. Make sure all the holes are clear of any clogs. Also remove the upper rinse arm and wash arm, and do the same thing you did with the lower wash and rinse arms. These, as with all other models, are interchangeable, so don't worry if you get them mixed up. Just make sure you put the wash arm back first and the rinse arm second, but they're interchangeable between the upper and lower. To remove the upper rinse arm, turn the ferrule nut counterclockwise. Replace the scrap screen, the lower wash arm and rinse arm. Once installed, they should spin freely. Clean the pump intake area as well. This is the service and diagnostic portion of the models UH100, UH170, and UH200. For testing, make sure it is completely drained of water, which we are as you see here. You'll check the incoming voltage, open the door. Notice that the green cycle indicator light blinks. The door switch and the cycle light work. That function will time out after 10 seconds. Close the door. Press and release the start switch. If the green cycle indicator light flashes, the start switch works. Press and release the extended wash switch. If it blinks, it indicates that that switch works. To test the control board, you'll press the start switch 3 times with the door closed. What this does is begin a diagnostic on the board. It will check the components listed on the board, starting with the fill valve, then the detergent pump, rinse aid pump, drain valve, open drain, valve close, the wash pump, the drain pump, or sanitizer if applicable. That will be a complete diagnostic for that control board. If at any time you don't see any of those conditions present, then your control board has a problem. Check the 4-amp fuse on the board. During the final rinse phase of the machine, the gauge should read 18 to 22 psi. If you have too high pressure, it can be adjusted via the PRV that is mounted in line with your plumbing.